Hello, everyone. This is Shelby Tuck Horton. Today is Wedding Wednesday webinar, and I'm very excited to have Nina. She told me how to pronounce her last name correctly. It's Nina Adio, like patio. Nina is the founder of I Do Wedding Market, a niche marketing agency helping wedding professionals turn their social media into real bookings. Known for her clear strategies and no fluff approach, Nina helps planners, venues, and other creators build visibility with intention, consistency, and confidence. And she's already helped Nicole and I already 1 minute before we started letting other people in. She already helped us. So I know that you're in for a lot of good information. So I'm going to be quiet and I am going to turn it over to Nina.
All right, thank you guys. If you can't tell from my accent, I'm from New York. I'm not in the city, but it sounds like I am where I am. So sometimes you might hear you might hear some street noise. So I like to give that little disclaimer. And a lot of you guys are familiar faces from World of Weddings, but if you weren't at World of Weddings, if you want to put that in the chat just so I know, because it's helpful as I give the presentation, knowing you haven't heard any of this yet. And of course, you can ask questions in the chat as we go, and we'll just have a lot of fun with this together. So let me get my presentation up for you guys. Okay, slideshow. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, terrific, terrific. Okay, good. So this will be your first time hearing it. So we're going to take it. I like to take social media nice and slow. So if I'm going too slow for you, if you're like, no, I don't need your grandma's social media, let me know and we can speed it up a bit. But we really want social media to be a tool where we are being found, right? Like the likes are nice. That's why I post for the 5 likes I get, at least one from Heidi every time. But we want it to work for our businesses, to make us discoverable, searchable, and for have what we're posting being strategic. And lately, I feel like social media has become such a stressful thing that it's like I'm one of those injury attorneys where it's like, let me help you. Social media, you decided to be a wedding planner and now you have to be on social media. You see planners or vendors showing up with camera crews or ring lights. It's become this whole new thing. And my goal is to simplify it for you guys and make it as easy and fun as possible, because what I find the most amazing about social media is that it is a free tool and we don't have many of those left. Yes, you can pay for ads and yes, it costs you time. But once you learn how to do it, you can really structure that amount of time and it can get you business, because I see it for my clients. So who are my clients? I do organic social media marketing. That means no paid ads. So it's just relying on our strategy. And I do it for wedding professionals worldwide. So that can be venues, planners, elopement planners, photographers, the works. And by having it be niche, I'm able to see what's working and what converts. And this started through working at a group of wedding venues, and I was doing their administration in social media because at the time, no one just did social media. I couldn't go to school for social media. I learned social media through having a America's Next Top Model blog that went viral. And then I was like, well, I'm going to put this on my resume and get work in this. And that led me to the wedding industry. And by doing the administrative work, I learned the back end because I was doing the linen order and cake order and I was doing the vendor lists. But the most important part was I was in the sales meeting minutes. And that really transformed what I learned about the business, because I was seeing inquiries from the couples, I was seeing the complaints from the sales team, and then kind of working it together to have a strategy. So I alluded to it in the beginning that being a wedding planner has gone from kind of this is what we would see in our minds, Jennifer Lopez, the wedding planner, and now it's becoming an influencer space. Or I think I see it in my clients' markets. You may see it in your own that overnight another planner's up and she's just hitting hard on social media and she's offering low prices and she's using social media to get a lot of attention. And it's become a much more competitive space from that alone because you don't need anything in order to be able to invest in it other than time and know-how. Social media has become the new word of mouth. Even if their friend refers you, or if you're on the preferred vendor list, or if you're on a paid directory, they're checking your social media next because it's kind of the new proof of life, right? If they want to see, are you working? Are you busy? What type of events do you do? And today's audience is pretty savvy. They know that on our website is where we put everything picture perfect. We only put the best of the best on our website. And they know social media is just going to be more real. So they're checking it because it's a bit more relevant. You're able to see more and see more detail. So, according to the 2025 wedding trends from Zola, their first look report, social media inspires 91% of couples. And when I used this stat a year ago, it was 85%. So it's really, we're basically getting to as close as we can to that 100%, minus probably the 3% who don't use it. And then 68% of couples vet potential vendors by scrolling through their Instagram and TikTok accounts. So, can we afford to miss out on 68% of couples, by not being on social media or not updating it, right? You don't have to be on it every day, but let's get really at the minimum twice a month so that when people are scrolling, they see you're working, you're active, you're busy. But in order to be found by those couples who don't already know you, we need to know who you are, who you service, where you are, and what you do. Because if you don't have that, it's going to be that much harder for couples to discover you on social media. So, what if 2 hours a week could get you an extra client each month? Would that be enough for you to be willing to try it for your business? And I say 2 hours a week because I believe that is the bare minimum you can do to succeed. In the beginning, those 2 hours may take you one post. Shelby was saying in the beginning as she was trying to do a post and hours went by. And it's okay if in that beginning, the 2 hours a week is one post a week. As you learn it, you're going to get to do more and more. And a lot of the objections will be, well, I don't have anything to post or I don't have anything to say. I can't relate to the couples anymore, especially on Instagram. The market is saturated. I don't understand social media. I don't want to be on social media. That's the biggest one. I don't have $1,000 a month to pay someone else to do it. But would you overlook any of these objections if you got an extra client each quarter or each month? And that's what I believe can happen through consistent and intentional social media. So the way I like to think of it is, would you have a sales rep do a meeting on your behalf without knowing what your brand was about? What would you tell a sales representative about your brand and business before they took that call? That's what we're going to want your social media to reflect and know about you. So, your social media content cannot organically sell on its own without knowing the who, what, where, when, and why. And if you've already done a lot of website work, or if you've done a lot of, branding work, you may have already worked with a branding person. You may already have this information, which is great. And if not, that's what I would like you to work on. I am a wedding planner in what area, who services couples, who what. Get that kind of mission statement there. So, This is important because social media now has its own SEO. So to show you that, here on Google, we typed in Tampa wedding planner, and short videos came up, two from Instagram, one from Facebook. And then when people search Tampa wedding planner on Instagram, the people who put Tampa wedding planner as their name on Instagram, or who have that within their SEO, come up here. And then when they search it, we have these accounts that came up, and they came up because they were optimized with that search term. So I have a feeling this part, I just want to even show you it even more. Can you still see my screen now that I've gone out of the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to Instagram, and I just want to show you specifically what I meant there. So here I put as my name, Nina, social media marketing for wedding businesses. And I did that because if somebody's looking for social media marketing for wedding businesses and they don't know who I am, they're not going to just search Nina because they haven't met me yet. So if you have a couple who is looking for, I use the example of a Tampa wedding planner, and they don't know you, if your social media account just has your name, it's going to make you less searchable. So when I had put in Tampa wedding planner, we saw that people who put that within their name came up. So that's what I mean by that. And that is kind of like the first SEO step that we can take with that. And if you have more questions on that, you can put them in the chat and we will answer it at the end. But I'm still sharing, right? Okay. So
Yes.
as we kind of put in, what are the things we're going to be wanting to mention in our captions, in our profile to come up? Think about what makes you different than your competitors. What's your wow statement? You're a wedding planner who does what for who? People like working with you because what? And what are couples asking pertaining to your service? That's one of my favorite ways to get post and caption ideas is when you're on a sales call. Somebody goes, "Oh, I didn't realize you do this," or "Oh, I didn't realize you don't do day of coordination." What would have made that call more of a connection? What are people curious about? What are they asking? Those are great ways to get caption inspiration to help qualify your Instagram audience when they come over for a call. So phase one, your name and location in your Instagram profile. And this really applies for any social media profiles. Just Instagram is the best example to use. And I find it still really prevalent. So as I showed you earlier, for this venue, I put their name and then that they were a Long Island wedding venue. So this way, if people don't know the Crescent Beach Club and they're just searching Long Island wedding venue, they will find them. In the About section is where we put their most important information and keywords. So for them, it's that they're Long Island's only premier beachfront venue and that they're doing winter wedding specials. As a beach venue on Long Island, they need to push and sell winter. So that's why we put winter in the About section. So for you, it can be whatever you kind of want your biggest message to be. And then phase two is applying that to the post you're doing too. Once upon a time when Instagram first came out, I could just copy and paste a love quote, and that was fine as a caption. But now what you need is those SEO terms to help your content come up and be pushed to the right people. So a story I like to tell is I'm a professional wrestling fan. My dad is too. And he called me. He keeps sending me these clips of when Ronda Rousey was wrestling. She's an UF MMA fighter. And he kept going to me, "Ronda Rousey's coming back to wrestling." And I go, "No, Dad, she's not. Why do you think that?" And he goes, "Because I keep seeing it on Instagram." And I had to tell him, you keep seeing it on Instagram because Instagram knows whenever Ronda Rousey is on your feed, you send it to me. So you're engaging with it. So it's giving you more Ronda Rousey. When couples are engaged and they start looking up wedding venues and wedding vendors, wedding related items, Instagram sees the location they are and they see what they're looking up. So by having wedding and location related content authentically in your captions, it helps that be pushed out to people looking up weddings in your area. So it's become much smarter social media. So here we still kept it authentic. We're not keyword stuffing. So we put from our crescent room directly to the beach. Our venue delivers beachfront weddings for all seasons on Long Island. Now booking holiday parties and promotional packages for afternoon weddings. So we put our keywords and we put our most important message. So what you can do to make this easier is to let ChatGPT know this is what you're looking to do. So in this example, I put my name is Ruby Starlight. I'm a wedding planner in the Metro Detroit area who specializes in unconventional weddings. I'm looking to book 2026 couples. My mission statement, because weddings shouldn't be cookie cutter. If you've already done an about page or an intro page on your website you're proud of, put that in, copy and paste that into ChatGPT and say, this is who I am. This is my most important message. Remember it. You can even give ChatGPT your website URL and they should be able to see it all from there. And then from there, ChatGPT will provide a response. So you will want to tell ChatGPT, here's my website. Can you help me with social media content? And what you can even do, just because it's giving you an answer doesn't mean it's the right one, right? So I would go back to this. This is a good post. It mentions Metro Detroit here, and it mentions what she's about. I would probably go back and say, I don't want an M dash because people don't like those anymore because they say it's a sign of ChatGPT. And I would say maybe make it more fluid, right? I don't need these three kind of choppy statements here. Whatever would make it sound more like you. You can even say, here's an example of how I write and how I communicate to couples. And you can paste in a past email or a past blog or a past caption you were proud of and say, this is my tone of voice. Can you apply that? So you can revise it as needed. And the more details you give, the better your outcome is going to be. So this is an example of a post without any of that information and why this information is so important, and you can see it kind of live. So this caption says, you don't marry someone you can live with, you marry someone you cannot live without. Congrats, Ashley and Jake. Looking at this photo, I cannot tell who posted it. I cannot tell if it's the photographer, the planner, the venue. I don't know anything. And this photo would only come up in my feed if I happen to be searching Ashley and Jake, because that's the only thing unique about this caption. Even the hashtags are not unique. So this is not going to do anything to help your post get discovered or to help you have any organic traction. So now let's say if we were to use ChatGPT to do this, you can just ask, really, you can send your photo to ChatGPT. So here is where I put a photo into ChatGPT, and you can ask it for a caption. You can ask it for alt text, which is the back end of the photo. Here you could see it can tell it's an elegant sparkler. So you can let ChatGPT make this a lot easier for you. So the next thing I do with that is try to add repetition to it. you may be at a stage where the 2 hours is one post a week and you're like, that's as much as you're going to get. In an ideal world, we would do 2 or 3 times a week, and you can have kind of compartmentalize it to make it easier. So maybe Monday is where you do an educational post. Shelby mentioned that she has a lot of advice for couples. So maybe that's what she does on Mondays. On Wednesdays, you could do an entertaining post. That doesn't mean you have to be singing and dancing, doing a trending reel. Entertainment in the wedding industry could be showing a themed wedding that you did. It could be saying, look at the beautiful florals we created. Or maybe a content creator did take some footage that you can use, or you have a time lapse. So entertainment doesn't just mean song and dance. It means that you're showcasing something that's interesting. And then Fridays, do a portfolio piece with vendors tagged. Instagram is really big on birds of a feather flock together, and your audience is too. So if you worked at a venue where you're like, this is the caliber of weddings I want to do, by tagging that venue in the location tag, having them tagged in the comments, having them in the caption, putting them there is going to let people see, oh, this is the type of wedding she does. This is the type of event she's, associated with. This is who they work with. So really, that's another way to kind of showcase your price without showcasing your price, right? By showing the other vendors and people that you work with. So I try to repeat those patterns, whatever it is you decide on, every week, and tying in what's your most important message and how much is too much. When I give clients their monthly calendar, right? They're going to be like, oh my God, you mentioned winter weddings 4 times. That's way too much. But nobody else is consuming your content that way. They're not looking at all your captions for the month at once and approving them. We're hoping that just one of those winter wedding posts gets on their feed. The chances are if they're not already following and engaged, we're trying to get them to see just one. We're trying to get something that's going to hook them and get them in. And that's why we have to repeat our message, because it's not always going to be relevant right away. They may not have even decided they want a winter wedding yet, or they could be engaged and wanting to wait a bit. There's a lot of reasons why we repeat our messages. It's not always going to sink in. Just once is not enough. And it feels like too much to us because we're the one writing it in one sitting, but it's not coming off that way. It's not how it's being consumed. So what does your social media need, or your post specifically, to be a successful sales tool? So number one is the vendors tag. So I try to, if my client doesn't have a vendor tag sheet, sometimes I'll have a timeline which says which vendors arrive when, and I'll use that to find them on Instagram, and I'll create a Word document that's just copy paste of all the Instagram tags. So anytime I post that wedding, I can put them in there. And what happens is when the vendors are tagged, they get notified that you posted. They go look at the post, they share it on their feed. Maybe they comment too. And now the Instagram algorithm goes, oh, this is a hot post. People are engaging with it right away. And Instagram starts pushing it out. So that's why vendors, one, it's just industry rule, right? It's industry manners to tag the vendors. But two, it really helps your post. So we tag them in the post and we put them in the captions. The captions are kind of like the studio credits at the end of the movie. Couples like to see it laid out there. Then is putting the location tag. This is really important, and I'm going to go back to my Instagram to show you why I love the location tag so much. So here on Instagram, we'll go here. We have a venue, and this is the location tag here. So it says Harbor Club at Prime. This is not just, something to have here so we know where it is. This is something that's searchable and clickable. So when I click Harbor Club at Prime, Many couples will do this because they want to see what the venue looks like for real, because these are photos that people are checking in with. The most engaged or top posts come up here. So if you're checking in at a venue, look, this review is for a DJ, and they have their review popping up on the venue's top photos. Like, that's crazy and good for them. Cause and that's probably because they used SEO, they put it there at Harbor Club at Prime. And then the most recent posts come up, and couples like to see this to see what's been happening recently at the venue. So I liked this photo, and a bride could discover this photographer as easy as that because they checked in at the venue and they went to those posts. So that's why I really love that feature, and it can help a lot. And then hashtags. I put hashtags for now because hashtags are being phased out because the SEO itself in your captions and in these other tools are so strong. So Instagram used to be 30 hashtags. Now they've limited it to 5. So you can be a little broader in your hashtags. You could do Long Island wedding planner, Long Island weddings. It doesn't have to be hyper specific. So doing this also relates to batch scheduling. It makes it that much easier. So there's platforms. There's a free social media tool. That's why I mentioned it, called NG, where you can connect to all social media platforms. Also, Meta Business Suite. So that's Instagram and Facebook has a free scheduler that you can use as well. So when you're batch scheduling, I like to keep it evergreen. So if January and February, if you're located in a region like I am, where that's slower with weddings, now's a good time to schedule as much as you can. And then just keep it evergreen. Don't talk about, it's 4th of July weekend or it's cold outside, and then you're scheduling it for May when it may not be. Keep it evergreen. And ChatGPT can give you a lot of evergreen content ideas, because what's not going to change, right, is that you're a wedding planner, that you have expertise, that you're helping couples. So you can rely on those things. So I tend to go really, really quick, and then we get a lot of questions and we can go more detailed after. If you think this is something that works for you, I have a social studio where we give social media prompts and things like that. So what I want to offer you guys is, if you follow me on Instagram and DM me that you would like the social studio freebie, I'll send that to you. And what that is, it's social media prompts to get you started. It's kind of giving you ideas that are specific to the wedding industry to help you guys do that. So, I go really fast through the presentation, but then that leaves us some time for questions where I can answer what's on your mind and what you guys wanted to know more of. I see there's questions in there, but Shelby, is there anything you want to say before I kind of just go to them?
No, go ahead.
Okay,
Start right
great.
in.
So Vanessa says, if you do events as well as weddings, but only put wedding planner, would you still come up for search when people search for event planners? So it's really up to you. What do you feel people are searching for more? When you're doing, if you were doing your Google SEO, what would you put in as your keyword? And what is more important to your business? In the captions is when you can play around and change it from event and wedding planner. But for the name, I would really try to figure out what are you being searched for more, and what is a more relevant search term. And you may be able to fit both in that name tab, because let me look here at my own. You probably can fit both. Let's put Los Angeles event planner and see what we get. So here she put Los Angeles wedding and event planner. Here we have event planner. So it looks like, you have room to do both, and maybe take a look and see what some of your competitors are doing to help you put that. And then let's put LA event planner and see the difference in who came up. So we see different ones who came up for LA. Um, so it's really based on what you think is going to be best for your business and what you think your couples search more. Do you think they're searching else? Because here, what we got a la carte. The law came up, even though she's not LA. So it looks like Los Angeles is better, is what I would say, just based on this like 3-minute search. And then Alexa says, would you recommend having a business or personal IG account? You lose a lot. So I do a creator account. So that is what I do for that. So that to me is what I feel is the best one to do. And that's when you create a Instagram account, it will ask you to categorize it. It's important to be a creator or business account so you can connect it to Meta Business Suite. But what Alexis is referring to is that you lose some capabilities when you're a business account. Like you can't use all the fun audios because you're a business. Um, so Heidi says, I've never entered alt text in Instagram. Is that something I should be doing? So alt text is how, for people who are vision impaired, it is how Instagram will read to them what the photo is about. Additionally, that is another place for SEO. So when you go to put in an Instagram photo, let's just go in and do it so you can see. And you can schedule from desktop, which is really nice. And that's certainly easier for some, right? So there will be, here's a tab that says accessibility. And then it says alt text describes your photos. So I would either put this photo into ChatGPT and say, give me alt text for this. So I'm going to chat, going to add the photo. I'm going to say this is a photo of Villa Russo in Queens, New York for their Instagram. Can you give me alt text for it? And now it's looking at the image. It's giving the alt text, and then I would copy it and paste it in here. And then that took care of that. So now we're being compliant and accessible, and we're getting some extra terms in there. And you could do the same thing with your caption. So can you give me a caption for this? Also mentioning we are booking for 2026 events with a capacity of 250. So here it gave me a caption and I could decide if I like that or not. So if I did, I would copy it, paste it here. I would add the location, Villa Russo. And then if I knew a vendor in it, I would tag it. But I don't, but I would tag some New York accounts, New York Brides Mag, things like that. And then I would post it. And then you've got your post. So that's where I say the 2 hours can work. If you have your portfolio and your images organized, you can really push out some posts in 2 hours. And if you wanted to schedule this, you could do that from Meta Business Suite. Heidi also noticed I don't have my last name in my bio. So that was just, I wanted more space to say that I did social media marketing for wedding businesses. So it was kind of a long search term. So if I just did social media marketing, maybe I'd put ADIO. I could put ADIO somewhere else. To me, it didn't feel important because I wasn't, when at the time I did it, I wasn't doing quite as many face forward content as I am now, but that's something I could consider adding. Are you detailing out to ChatGPT? Give me 3 education. So that's a good question that Heidi asked. She asked if I am telling ChatGPT. Essentially, am I telling them my content calendar? And I could do that. I could say, or Villa Russo. I'm going to give them, because now Villa Russo has become our example. So I'm going to take their website. I'm going to say, here is Villa Russo's website. Can you give me Instagram captions? Have 3 of them be educational, 3 entertaining, and 3 about real weddings based on what you see on the website. So I just kind of do it each individually. But that's because I'm, a social media manager. I'm paid to give it more time and attention. So I'm not even always using ChatGPT. But when you only got 2 hours a week, we do what we got to do to get it done. And so that's why something like this could really work. And I like what I'm getting. So number one, did you know Villa Russo offers multiple event spaces to fit your vision? From grand ceremonies in the palace room to intimate celebrations in the grotto room. We have the perfect, I love this. If anything, I would just ask it maybe to mention the location more, right? So I get that tag in. But these were really great. So I'm going to copy this prompt into the chat so you can consider asking ChatGPT the same thing. So one, insert your website. Insert website URL. And then here is my brand website. Can you give me Instagram captions? I would like 3 to be educational, 3 to be entertaining, and 3 to be real weddings based. Okay, so I just put that in the chat in case you want to copy and paste that and play around with that on ChatGPT. The Vanessa says go back to the post adding the location. That is when you're going to be okay, so yes, that's when you're going to do the actual post. So when you go to create a post and on your desktop it will look a little different, but it on your mobile, I mean, but here it comes up add location. So we have options of what we could put in. We could put in the city, which would be Richmond Hill. We could put in Queens, New York. So we're going even bigger. Or we could go directly to the venue. So if I'm doing a venue, I like to do a mix really of all 3. So I'm catching people at different areas. If the photo you're posting is from the church, I wouldn't necessarily tag the venue. Maybe then I do the town or the county. So I reach different people there. And then what happens when you do this is now when we go to Villa Russo, and if we go to their location, that may come up. So let's see if I'm trying to look for the location to click it. Here we go. So now when you go to their posts, these are all the recent location people who've come in. So now I'm seeing this great baby shower. If I was looking there for someone to do my balloons and stuff, I'm seeing somebody right away. So you're getting kind of those it's just a way to get that extra search and traction. Have you ever had a situation where you tagged a vendor and they were not agreeable with the caption? No, but what I will say, so there is a new feature that we saw here, new-ish, right? Called the collaborator post. And I don't know if anybody's used that before, but here I noticed that Villa Russo, and I'm not doing their social media right now, but they accepted a collaboration from Queen's Ledger News. So that means Queen's Ledger posted this. And what we see is this was a favorable caption. So Villa Russo accepted the collaboration and it now appears on their feed. there are times where I don't agree with accepting the collaboration. And I'll show you an example of one where the marketing director accepted it and I didn't want to. So this is for a venue I'm working with called Water's Edge. And they accepted this collaboration from the photographer. And here he's talking about Coastal Creative Studio, which is not our venue. He's showing photos of them getting ready, which is not at our venue. So I wouldn't accept this as a collaboration because I don't want it on the venue's feed because it's very minimal about the venue. But the marketing director did want to accept it, so he did. So I wouldn't tell them to change their caption, but what I do tell vendors is if you want us to accept the collaboration, make sure the venue is in it, right? So I'm not going to post photos from the church and then ask the venue to put it on their feed because that doesn't sell weddings for them. So if I am using that feature, if I want the venue to accept it, I try to make it nice for them. What are venues looking for in selecting vendors to work with? So for me, as someone who does the social media end of it, I'm looking for people who will let me see the content, who are tagging me, who are sharing it with me, even as the planner. If the photographer gives you the gallery, share it with the venue as a courtesy in case the photographer didn't get to. Let them know the photographer's terms, right? Like you have to credit them, you have to tag them, but that makes it easier for the venue. Or you can respond back to the venue saying, my couple worked with you, here was their review. I also asked them to post it on your Google business page. Just something that's going to make them happy because what they want is bookings. And it's hard to always be able to bring that because we want bookings too. So if there's a way to get the venue to see your value, that you're going to bring people in for a tour, even if they don't end up booking, it looks good that you brought somebody in and you gave them that chance. So I think those are things that are really helpful to the venue. And I find that reaching out to the venue directly is even better than doing it on Instagram because not a lot of the larger venue owners, if you think it's something where they're hands-on and they're on the Instagram, then it can make sense to message on Instagram. But if you think the venue owner is not the one on his phone checking Instagram, then don't even waste the time doing it through there. Find their email through the contact form, see if they're on LinkedIn, and send them a more genuine email or message that way. So you're getting them directly, and then it maybe include the gallery or include the review or something that's going to make them see that value. It does not affect you if they don't accept the collaboration invitation. So it still doesn't hurt to invite them. They just may not always accept. And then Heidi asks, what's your take on archiving posts? I like to archive posts that is no longer relevant. So I'll use Villa Russo again, just because I know they had this. So they have like Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve gala. Once that stuff passes, if they had posted about it like several times, I would archive those. If it was like an event flyer or something like that, because it's no longer relevant, it's expired, and I'd rather people see the nice wedding. So those are the only types of things that I'll archive. And when I say the 2-hour minimum for the success, is that for post creation exclusively or engagement time included? So when Heidi says engagement time, what she means is that's the time I spend on the platform interacting with people. So let's say you were a planner in Queens. Villa Russo could be a hot place for you. So that means I would be commenting on their posts and I would be interacting with their followers. Or one account that for us in Long Island, there's the Brides of Long Island. So as soon as somebody gets engaged, they follow this account. So that means this is an account I want to spend time on. I want to comment on their posts. I want to see who's following them and maybe interact with them, and see what they're doing and what they're up to. So let's see. They just had a follower, Alyssa. Uh, so sometimes what you'll see is, and her page is public. That means she's welcoming attention. So you could comment saying, those drinks look so good. And the idea is because your profile is optimized, they already know who you are and what you do. So let's say for me, my clients are wedding vendors, right? So if I want to interact with East End celebrations, I can just like their stuff. I'll say pink is always so pretty. Um, and I don't need to pitch them because they can see what I do through my name. It says I do wedding marketing, right? Or if they click my profile, it's really clear that I do social media marketing for wedding vendors. Like right here, they can see it. So I don't need to comment going, hey, do you need help with your social media? You don't need to comment going, hey, are you looking for a wedding planner? Because if your profile says it, they already know. And that leaves you that opportunity to do some genuine engagement. So if you have time left over in your week, I call this great commercial break or waiting room activity. That's when I go in and do some engagement and interact with people on social media and see, who's following these accounts, who's checking in at these accounts, and that's where I kind of remind them that I exist. All right, let's see if they were any other. I think we got to them all. That was fun.
Thank you, Nina. I appreciate that. Any last questions for her before she leaves? She's been so good with sharing so much information.
Yeah, if
Oh,
anything was unclear, yeah, I don't mind going over again.
so you good? You're
Nina,
amazing.
I don't know how many of us this applies to, so feel free to direct me to the side if it's too unique. But for those of us that are offering multiple services that do have different keywords and different kinds of imagery attached, can we successfully have those in one Instagram profile, or do we have to manage different profiles for different offerings?
So I would say, so are you talking more where, let's say it's more corporate? So for you, like it's not collage. What do you call it? The corporate versus weddings, or what do you mean more specifically?
Well, for me specifically, I have the live weddings, the live events, mural painting, and portrait painting. So
Murals.
they're
Yeah.
four very different things.
So I think, it's kind of similar to when photographers will do the newborn and family photographer pages and then the wedding pages. And for me, that's a matter of capacity and volume. Do you have the capacity for two accounts? Right. So make it work with one. Maybe if you were to expand to a team, right? That would be where you could have time for both. And that's what I even see a lot of social media managers do. Is that as soon as they have a teammate or even an intern and they give them that social media profile to be like, that's your baby, do what you want with it. But you can make it work within both. Or that's where you could leverage the collaborator post. So I'll try to give a more visual example just so it looks more clear. So let's see if I can find an example quick without taking too much time because Lois, okay, so I asked ABC to collaborate with this, and now it's on both of our feeds because it was very relevant for us both. So thank you for accepting the collaboration. But if you had, let's say we had, with love from Heidi and we had murals by Heidi. You could collaborate every now and then, so they're on both feeds. So you're not growing the mural audience, you're slowly introducing your existing audience to it to help you get some leverage. So it's not necessarily dominating it, but maybe every 5 posts, you do a mural one that's collaborating between the two. and you can kind of slowly grow it. So if Lois was to have, Cozy by Lois, she could collaborate with her other existing page to kind of leverage both audiences without having to build it from the ground up, if that made sense. But I would say to protect your time and capacity first, and focus on what you have time for, and don't be too afraid of confusing people, but try to keep it cohesive. So 70% your main business, 30% your side hustle. So maybe, every couple of posts you weave it in. So this way they're still seeing, when they're looking at that 9 feed grid, they'll see one mural or one portrait or one corporate, and then the rest kind of live event painting. So it's always there on that 9 feed grid, but it's not overtaking it at any time.
Awesome. Thank you.
So that seems like it wraps it up for us for today. Nina, I want to say thank you for a whole lot because I called you and asked you for a very, very, very special favor, and you came through with flying colors, and I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone who attended, and I will see you for our next Wedding Wednesday webinar, which will be the first Wednesday in February. Have a great day. Bye
This is
bye.
fun. Thank you
Bye
guys.
bye.